I'll go over a little bit.
Take time.
All right. Well, so good morning, everybody. I am Pelham Spong. Say that 3 times fast. There you go. I am with ITology. I'm actually exclusively working with something called the GRIT grant at Midlands Technical College. So I am a job readiness coach for the participants in the program, and I also work with employers for those who graduate on placement side. So what is GRIT? It stands for Growing Resources for Information Technology. It is a $5 million grant that was awarded to Midlands Technical College in 2012 by the Department of Labor. This isn't taxpayer money. It's actually coming from the H-1B visa fees that are collected when an employer hires a foreign worker. So it's an effort to kind of return that money back into the local workforce. So why was the GRIT program started? 2,900. That's how many jobs a recent study found will be available in the IT industry in the next 5 years in Central South Carolina alone. I actually met with a local employer recently who mentioned something like 35% of their IT staff is eligible for retirement this year. There's a lot of jobs opening up, and there's also a lot of turnover about to happen as the baby boomers exit the workforce.
We can't afford to use it.
I know, and that's why there's 35%, and 35% is not going to leave. They're holding on to that position until the last minute. There's also a gap between the skills that employers are looking for and the talent in our local workforce. So the GRIT grant was designed as a possible solution for this. Who is eligible for the GRIT program? Unemployed or underemployed minorities, women, veterans, and basically anybody who has either an educational background in IT or some professional experience in IT. We are very selective. 72% of this $5 million grant goes towards the student scholarships, and I think it's somewhere around the $8,000 range for each student. So we screen them pretty thoroughly. They go through several testings. We also work with, if anybody knows the Midlands Workforce Development Center, they help us in our selection process. They go through a hands-on assessment and an instructor-led exercise in the classroom and an interview process. We want to make sure that we're getting not only people who are committed. This is 10 to 14 weeks of technical training without pay, but that they're also going to be successful in the training and then successful in finding a job. So we're picky. We have 3 target occupations. So we've got 2 what I call tracks, 2 networking tracks. We've got an HIT Network Support Specialist track, an HIT Network and Data Communications Analyst, and then we've got a front-end web developer and a programmer analyst track. This has been a bit of a work in progress. We have been tweaking them based on feedback from local employers. For example, this programmer analyst, the front-end piece, we got some feedback from an employer in the IT insurance sector who said, hey, we really need some application developers. So we've kind of changed things around. In the class that's graduating in December, there'll be 5 students coming out with 8 weeks of C# training. So we tried to respond to the needs that are happening right now. What is on-the-job training? On-the-job training is part of this Department of Labor grant. Every grant that they give out has an OJT component. It's designed to help defray the costs of onboarding a GRIT hire, and it's also to help you find talented employees. Anybody who participates in the program is eligible for the OJT for 90 days following the last day of class. They have 90 days where you can get, as an employer, a rebate basically for hiring a GRIT student. So for the first 8 weeks that they're employed in a full-time permanent position, we will reimburse you between 50 and 90% of their salary. If you've got 50 employees or less, which I think probably this crowd would, that's 90%. There's no cap on what their salary can be. That's dependent on the position that you hire them for. So do the math. 8 weeks times whatever. It's a nice little sum of money. The benefits, obviously that rebate can be hugely beneficial, especially for smaller companies. Some of the larger companies, not so much. But I also have a pool of qualified candidates who have recently upgraded IT skills. I've got a stack of resumes this high right now because we've really increased getting people through the program. And you're also helping to decrease the need on the local workforce, or the local, back up. You're decreasing the need on foreign workers and increasing hiring of the local workforce. I think there's a community benefit to this. South Carolina's unemployment rate has gone down, but there are still a lot of folks who are long-term unemployed, and many of our GRIT candidates are either unemployed or long-term unemployed. However, they're hungry and they're eager to get back into the workforce, and they're doing everything they can. So they want to work, and I'm sure you are all aware there's a bit of a stigma once you're unemployed to get out of that section. So I think it's hugely beneficial to the community. How can you help? So we need employers to come and talk to our candidates. Tell us about your company, tell us about the job search process, tell us about your hiring needs, any advice you can give. They eat it up. I also need...
Keep going. 30 seconds. Good call.
All right, I also need employers to come and do mock interview sessions and resume review sessions. We found this is incredibly valuable to them. I can tell them what to do all day and night, but it's when you come and you tell them what to do that they actually really listen. So being on that other side of the table, somebody with the potential to hire, that really carries weight with them. If you have an opportunity for a volunteer project or an internship, obviously the GRIT grant is structured to culminate in on-the-job training. However, that is not the reality, nor is it necessarily what our GRIT students need. Many of them lack experience and they need something hands-on to do. So anything they can put on their resume will help them in the long run get to that place where they're trying to get. And obviously we need on-the-job training opportunities. So if you've got a hiring need in an IT department, think of us. I have 26 resumes right now of people that are on-the-job training eligible. Between 2 weeks ago, the last group recently graduated, and coming up through February. So I've got 26 students that need placements. So